name is Optimus Prime, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful, the amazing, the indomitable Primetime Moff. Hi, Moff.
Hi there.
And whether you're watching us on the YouTubes or you're indeed listening to us on your podcast device of choice, welcome to our weekly show, Transformers 84 to 24, 40 years of rolling out. A show where we spend an episode each week talking about a year of the Transformers brand. So please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you do not miss anything on this incredible journey. And join us as we talk about the year 2000. Y2K, all sorts of other things. It's so weird to think that the year 2000 is so long ago now. Absolutely.
I know.
Bonkers.
I know.
Bonkers.
It's crazy. It's actually mental to think that it was such a big thing, and people nowadays don't comprehend that. And they'll probably, lots of people will never experience that kind of turnover again, but it was such a big deal. And, you talk about Y2K. Y2K always sticks in my head because I was doing a degree in computing at the time, and it was such a big fear of it. And I'll be honest, I did take advantage of that and did lots of computer backups to protect people and charge them a lot of money. And as a student, that was fantastic. I had a great year 2000 party because I had made money off people's worries and fears that turned out to be in nothing, but in the opposite end, it destroyed the computer, it destroyed the IT market and meant I couldn't get a job in it. So, pros and cons.
Well,
what a mad time.
It was bonkers. I mean, I was at university in Greenwich, and we had the Millennium Dome just down the road, as it was at the time. But most people these days, well, kids these days anyway, wouldn't even know what you're talking about when you talk about the Millennium Dome. It's the O2. Anyway, let's talk Transformers. Yeah, let's talk Transformers instead. So we reached the end of Beast Wars last year with the bang that was Fusors and Transmetals 2, and then we we didn't really mention the fact that last year they actually had the first season of Beast Machines aired, because Beast Wars ended with effectively Megatron winning and disappearing off the Cybertron. We were left with, what's going to happen? And the show started quite soon afterwards. We're not going to talk about the show because we have a video already all about, well, mostly about Beast Machines, because the wonderful and amazing and friend of the show, Bob Skir, who was the writer and showrunner of Beast Machines, he's recorded an interview with us that was for TF UKCon last year. So please do check that out. I'll get it linked somewhere so you can check that out. It's a really, really good video. He's an amazing guy, and a lot of people. Beast Wars isn't necessarily anybody's favorite era of Transformers. But listening to what Bob had to say about it and how it came to be and why it was the way it was is actually fascinating. So yes. Now, one thing that's very apparent with the the Beast Machines line, as opposed to the Beast Wars cartoon, the Beast Wars cartoon, they obviously had the toys. They obviously knew what the toys looked like. And were basing the character models off of those toys, even if they were just sort of prototypes. And obviously the beast modes, they were looking like animals. With Beast Machines, the toy line and the cartoon designs, there's the same design beats, but the two things are far removed from each other in terms of look. You have any thoughts on that, Mr. Moff?
Yeah, and it's a weird bit because Beast Wars, probably the big positive of Beast Wars was the aspect that they looked so alike. I talked about Transmetal Cheetor, and Transmetal Cheetor looked very like this on screen. Your Dinobot looked very like this on screen, And then Beast Machines, they didn't really have that. And I've heard lots of different stories about that were kind of not really sharing designs. They were kind of, right, here's our early concept, work on that. And, if you think back to 1984, you think of those like original commercials or the original comics, they didn't end up looking like the cartoon as well. So it's not as if it's a first in Transformers.
Oh,
and,
no.
Show accuracy is a good thing to certain extents, but the big important bit for me is always good toys. Should the toys be good? And that's a bigger challenge for me. The show accuracy. I think that the show accuracy, there are some aspects I think would have been really good and really helpful for some of the designs, but actually that's not what listed. I'm not the biggest Beast Machines fan. We talked about this beforehand. We're talking about we went from an era where I loved Transmetals, to an extent Transmetals 2 as well, and it's the only proper line of a Transformers. Other things like Minibots, but it's only kind of subline I've really completed and went in my way wanting to have a complete collection of, and I've got more, more of 98 and 99 than I have of any other year, as in like a complete collection. And then it goes to this, and I'm totally the opposite. I have one Beast Machines toy still in possession, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, even when I went through a spate of thinking, like, hey, I'll just buy all the Transformers, somewhat naively, probably about 15 years ago now, with Beast Machines, I picked up some bits and bobs, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't get. And there's a lot of stuff from this line that looking through the toys that we're going to be talking about shortly, there was so much there that I never saw and never wanted to see. It's a way of putting it. And there's some interesting choices. And the departures from the toy line and the show are oddly baffling in some respects. Like anyway, we'll talk about it in the toy section. Other things to mention, but we won't focus on, as is tradition. We are aware that Japan was doing stuff. This year in particular, they were doing something absolutely, completely different. Now, we will get to this properly. Hey, no, I've got... how to put this? I like the Beast Machines show a lot more than I like the toy line. So, yes. But yeah, no, better. They were definitely doing something better.
Yeah.
So they were doing car robots. Car robots was what cropped up in Japan at this time. Now, obviously, we're going to get to that a little bit later when it was sort of brought to the West. But yeah, so rather than them continuing on with Beast Wars, even though they'd already continued on with Beast Wars Second and Beast Wars Neo, I suppose there wasn't any point in them doing Beast Machines because it wouldn't make any sense of the narrative they were built with the other two stories. So instead, they did car robots, which is an amazing mishmash of different lines, and is just it's kind of what Moff said to me earlier. It's kind of what we're getting these days with Legacy. Japan sort of did a proto version of that with car robots to an extent. But anyway, we're going to not talk about that. That was it. That's all you're getting. So I think it's probably a good idea to move on to the toys.
Let's go for it. And it's funny because, as I say, I only have one now, but I did go heavy on buying them when they first came out because at that point I had such an enjoyable experience buying Beast Wars Transmetals. I was like, more Transformers, excellent. And I've only ever did this once with one other line there. I've bought the first wave of stuff and then went, I'm not buying any more. And I did it with Armada, which probably more, I look back and go, actually, Armada, I kind of regret, but Beast Machines. So I had a lot of the first wave of Beast Machines. I don't know if I had everything. I can't remember what was the first wave, exact wave, but I bought a pile and I remember hunting for them. Like it was a proper, I'm going to get these. And there's some crazy things in this regards to size and changes. And
it's absolutely. Yeah. Now, this is the point where I would share my screen, but I just tried to share my screen and it said host has disabled share screening for participants. So if Moff can fix that in the next 10 seconds, I'll share my screen.
Try it
If
now.
not, I'll just. Hey, and now I've lost it. Wait a sec. I'll cut all this out.
It does work, I'll share.
Oh no, it is working. It's just that I closed my PowerPoint because I'm an idiot. Boop-a-doo. And I will seamlessly edit this in. It'll be seamless. My editing will be absolutely seamless for the 2 minutes that just took us to share the screen. Ah, and here we have the shared screen. So we'll start with.
It's not really Beast Machines. That's obviously the kind of the Beast Wars. Go back up, because I think the important bit with this is that we had a Soundwave toy. So as much as this
right,
is
I'll
Beast
just
Machines era, we had that last kind of
skip this slide. Okay.
Last era of Beast Wars, kind of the last little bits, and a couple of repaints. But there was 4 Mutants figures that included a Soundwave. So Soundwave's important.
I disagree, but no, he's important, I suppose. Although this time he's what even is that?
It's like because these are kind of like fusors. They're kind of weird and wonderful, crazy things. I didn't have any of these. I don't remember even seeing them. They've always been on my kind of list of I'd like. It's a Soundwave, so it's on my list of I'd like to pick this up at some point. But I'd also like to experience the kind of molds, because the kind of, I think if I remember correctly, the artwork and the card design is kind of more similar to Beast Machines, so it's kind of a funky kind of more kind of blue color to it than the other ones. The Waspinator, this one, I talked about not being a massive fan of the reprints, and I'm not really, but the Waspinator on this is really nice, and the green wings have always appealed to me. I love that Waspinator toy. I genuinely think it's one of the best toys Beast Wars did. I genuinely could pick 5 or 6 of the Transmetals toys and say that, to be fair, but that Waspinator toy is stunning, and that colouring on that is gorgeous. And if I saw it at a TFN, it's something I would find hard to say no to. The other colourings, the repaints throughout the ones, even back to the original Wave basics where they did the first cassette tape ones, the repaints never appealed to me. But this Waspinator does.
Yeah, it's slightly weird because Waspinator, I think, Rhinox also got 2 different Fox Kids repaints. Both
did
versions.
Rattrap not get one as well? Because Rattrap, I'm sure, got a
maybe. The
Eraser one's the one that's the kind of least changed from what I'm talking to. The picture. It doesn't really change it. It's just a slightly darker shade.
Yeah. But as you say, with the mutants, I'm really not that familiar with them. The only one I had Poison Bite at some point. I think I got him in a lot. But he was the only one that I had. There's some really, whereas Fusors kind of made sense. These mutants, they are hideous.
Yeah, they really are.
They're just unpleasant to look at. The Razor Claw with his really gangly, this just unpleasant. I do not like those, and because of that, I'm going to change to the next slide, which is the basic class. This is more what I associate with the first year of Beast Machines. The others do feel very much, were Beast Wars for all intents and purposes. And we have a bunch of figures, even in this first line, who basically bear very little relation to the cartoon at all. Mirage wasn't even in the cartoon, was he? Obsidian was.
Mirage was probably the best. So I only had 3 of these. I had Buzzsaw, Mirage, and Scavenger. And Mirage was the best of a bad bunch. I always liked the idea of Night Viper, but I think I was just so like, I'm not feeling these, that I never pushed to try and get in the rest of them. But a Night Viper would be something I'd probably pick up just to experience it.
Yeah, Night Viper's quite good. It has a similar sort of vibe as that. Well, because it's a snake.
Beast Wars 2. What was it?
Whatever his name was.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Buzzsaw in the shops and not liking how it looked, so I didn't buy it. And it had the weird springy tail.
It was awful.
Wasn't a fan of that. Yeah.
It was.
Longhorn, I don't remember seeing. Hammer Strike, I really liked. I had a bit of a thing for Shark Transformers, but I didn't get him until years later. And yeah, that's really it. Scavenger, I really liked. Mirage, I really liked. And I don't remember seeing the figure of Silverbolt until much later. Because even though this is the first wave of basics, I think we pretty much, as you said earlier, we only got Buzzsaw, Mirage, and Scavenger over here. The rest of them appeared way later in Cybertron.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them in like Toys R Us, but not until much later. Scavenger I used to love. He was a great bonkers little bot that transforms into a thing. His robot mode is also kind of a thing, but he's quite fun. And I remember when I first got it, I thought the chrome had worn on his claws because inexplicably they'd painted the end of the claws luminous orange.
Yeah.
Which always made me think. Yeah, so I mean, there's some pretty good bots there. I know people quite like Obsidian, and Obsidian does turn up in the show in the second season. And is a bit more of a character, but also looks a bit different. I've never experienced that toy, so I can't comment any further. Let's go on to the next slide. Ah, yes, these.
Yeah, mate.
So you know what I was saying earlier about things that he did that were weird and sort of awful. This is that. They had...
It feels weird because this is the kind of thing that we've talked about this throughout the history of Transformers, and that 2 or 3 years in, let's throw in mad gimmicks. That is just what Transformers does. We know that. We see that throughout the rest of the series as well. There was no need for this at the beginning. Like, give it a year or two, then go, let's do some throw gimmick. It just was strange for them to do it from the outbit.
They're not tied into the show in any way, shape, or form, and they're odd anyway. But also they have repaints immediately.
Yes, yeah. Like, it goes back to, what was it? It was G2 where it kind of did that first, where it was like, let's release 2 decos of something straight off the bat, and this is...
But like, I mean, so. The deployers are basically Action Master weapon platforms for all intents and purposes. They turn from a vague animal into an even vaguer weapons platform with something. I mean, mole? What is mole? Is it like a mole? Because like Dillo, it looks like an armadillo, but mole, it's got a head with a drill, weird paddle hands, and tank treads. Anyway, and Rav obviously looks like a bird. They're horrible. I hate them. I hate them so much. Even transparent plastic cannot save them for me. And
that's the sad bit, because I love a bit of transparent plastic. Plastic. It really appeals to me to experience some toys that I've never done usually when I see it. I've picked up a couple from G2. Like, there's a pile of wee things I've picked up since we started recording these episodes, because I was like, actually, that kind of looks fun, luminous green, etc. There's no part of me that looks at these and go, I want to experience them. I'd love for somebody to, sit in a bar at TFN to come up and go, right, here's Megatron. I'm going to show you why this is a good, fun toy. I am up for that. Like, convince me that otherwise that these are fun toys that would deserve something better. But I just don't feel it.
I just don't get them. And the Chi and Megatron, are they vehicles for the figures, or are they just vehicles? And they don't transform. And no, I'm good. I'm moving on. They upset me. Right. So now we have the deluxe class, where we have some pretty cool bots.
Yes. Yeah.
So first thing of note, the Dinobots were repaints of Beast Wars Neo Dinobots.
Yep.
So we'll, not that we really touched on them when we talked about Beast Wars Neo, but we'll ignore them as they're effectively repaints. There's some good things there, but anyway, we'll move on from that. So we had Jetstorm and the Sonic Attack Jet, because one of the things that's very, very much a theme in Beast Wars was that the bad guys, the Vehicons, became mindless troops, troop drones, and you had a couple of characters, but other than that, it was drones all the way. So the Sonic Attack Jet is their sort of equivalent of having a drone troop builder. So you could have Jetstorm as the leader, as he should be, and Sonic Attack Jets as the other ones. Black Arachnia, I actually love that figure. That's a really cool figure, and is the first one of the figures in this line that looks anything like the well, more like the animated model than the actual other thing. So you got Thrust as well, who actually is pretty cool. Quite a fun little motorbike and quite a fun little robot mode. But again, there's very little relation to how he looks in the show. Blast Charge, who again is another one of the Vehicons, doesn't look anything like he does in the show. Snarl, who's a lion, who isn't in the show. Skydive, who is a pterodon, who is not part of the Dinobots line, but probably should be. And then you have Optimus Primal. Now, we all know how much I love Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal. I hate that toy.
It's only one I have still, and it's only because it's the only reason I get it. It's just not good.
Oh, Jake, I might have it down. No, I can't get that. It has transparent plastic, which is always a plus, but the difference between robot mode and ape mode are rubbish. It looks rubbish. It looks barely anything like its animated model. It's just, it's horrible. I hate it. It's just horrible. Bye.
Yeah,
okay, and now we get into some things that are actually less bad. This toy line suffered from just some really odd choices. Very little of it had to do. So you can actually probably split this entire line into 3 parts.
Yes.
There were toys that they borrowed from other lines to pad it out.
Yep.
There were things that were designed that we used in the show. So again, back to them using we're assuming they're using the concept art or whatever for the first season. So there are toys within this first wave that were obviously the designs that got used, and then there was the ones that they just sort of made up that were toys only, but not used in the show. So the first version of Cheetor is obviously of the same design as the animated version. He is gangly. I remember when I saw the designs for the show, before I saw the show itself, and I really liked how they looked because they looked really different. It was a really interesting take, a different direction to go, and it was like, so they've been reformatted to be on Cybertron, so therefore they look a bit different and weird. I'm down with that. The Cheetor toy, it's not the worst. It suffers a little bit from gimmickitis because he's got an arm that sort of does that with to whip in action with his tail. And the other issue with him is that he's so long and gangly. I have never, ever been able to get him to stand up properly. Even when you've got him in bot mode, he's a bit more compact because he literally stretches out on his arms, on his legs, and his body. So yeah, he never really worked. You got any favourites of the Mega?
I think it's the interesting bit of this is this is something that we see now where you get the same character in 2 or 3 classes. So we have, at this point we're only really let's focus on the kind of 2. So even on this screen you can see we've got 2 versions of Cheetor. We have 2 versions of Jetstorm. That aspect of actually let's give you different size classes. I kind of get from being a parent, I don't mind like your small, cheaper things for to be able to pick the kids up. So you can get. I don't get. It doesn't bother me slightly. But you've got a mega class and supreme class Cheetor. You've not went cheap price points for these. If they had done a basic and then a supreme, fair enough. I kind of get it. I never had the mega class. I actually really. The Megatron has always appealed to me. Always appealed to me. I didn't pick it up because I had just thought at that point I was like, I'm not feeling this. Like, spent so much money. I bought up the Night Scream. I bought Supreme Cheetor. I bought a couple of the other ones. But Megatron, I wish I'd grabbed it at the time. I think I'd appreciated it picking it up at the time. It's kind of interesting. And just say like the designs in the show really appealed to me as well. I thought it was a really good evolution of what we had previously. The story, the way it's delivered, I think it's written well, and as you said, there's no point in us really delving into that. Go and have that listen to the Bob Skir interview. It was an absolute joy to speak to him about it and speak to him about the challenges he's faced, because it very much, split the fandom. Beast Wars has an aspect of splitting the fandom. That's heavily split the fandom. There's people, he got like really aggressive threats in the back of it. Yeah. And actually, I think it's one of those ones we went back and I know we spoke about it at the time after listening to having the interview with him. I went back and watched Beast Machines and I was like, actually, I really enjoy it, because same as I've done with Unicron trilogy and stuff like that, where it doesn't need to be anything other than it's what it was at the moment of time. Whereas some of this stuff back then, when we first started to see machines, I'm like, I want Mirage to look like G1 Mirage. I want that kind of thing. And this didn't do that. It was ahead of its curve at some points. And I think the story deserves to be given another chance. And some of the toys probably deserve another chance as well.
I definitely agree. Beast was the Megatron, the way he sort of his wings or his cape, because obviously in the show the storyline is he's eschewed his beast mode and is being all robot, but obviously he's hiding his dragon mode underneath his cloak. That was really cool. And Tankor is a genuinely really good toy. I really like that figure. He's awesome. Very chunky, decent transformation. It's got little claws. He's awesome. Never had Ultra Class Jetstorm, but we'll get back into that. And finally, Magmatron and T-Rex were repaints for the Dinobot subline that had nothing to do with the show whatsoever. And Night Scream, actually, very quickly, Night Scream is weird because I didn't get the sizes on this. No. I mean, having the deluxe class Jetstorm and the Jet, that made sense. Then having the ultra class one seemed a bit weird because it was twice the size of the others. Night Scream is a normal character, but he's absolutely enormous. And when you've got a little deluxe Optimus Prime, if you're a kid and you're trying to play with your figures based on the show, they're just bonkers.
The playability is gone. The playability is gone because you're wanting, as you say, you want Optimus Prime to kind of go with your cast. We went from the Beast Wars era where you could have picked up your Prime, your Megatron, you could have picked up your cast, and they all kind of scaled to what you expected. This ruined that, and I think that's the first and foremost bit of a Transformers toy line. Has to appeal to kids, and this can't have appealed to kids because you're not getting that. It's pure gimmicky of let's have a big toy, And as you're ready to talk about Supreme Cheetor, they talked about Supreme Cheetor. They were excited about the fact that they're releasing something the size of a house cat. Yeah, they look too much at whether they could do it, and not thought about whether they should do it.
I'm very apt with the Dinobot sideline. But yeah, this is the first time, and we got it again in some other lines, where they've inexplicably made gigantic versions of characters for no reason, it would seem, other than to sell a bigger version. But anyway, that pretty much brings us to the end of our thoughts.
You have to say, Primal Prime is beautiful because you've got a beautiful mold with a beautiful color scheme. That I'm up for. See, when you've got something that's a great mold, repaint it 4 or 5 times, I will buy it. Like, for example, in the more recent lines, you've got your Netflix Bumblebee. I would buy that toy in 5, 6 colors without a hesitation. It's a gorgeous toy. Primal Prime, Optimus is that kind of toy that has
he really is. I only got hold of a very, very nice version of it quite recently, so he's absolutely stunning. Anyway, let us move on to the exciting part of the episode, where we talk about our favorite bots of the year. So we're starting with you, Mr. Moff, and we're talking very quickly, or however long you'd like, bearing in mind we've got 5 minutes, on Ultra Class Jetstorm.
Yeah, and this was a hard bit because I'm not a big fan of the line. Like, I've kept one toy, and it's just because it's an Optimus. But I had this, and it was a fun toy. It didn't really do what it should do. It was a nice colorings on it. And I could probably see myself picking it up again if it was cheap, because actually I remember it being kind of fun. And that's what a toy should be. And again, it goes back to when the sizes, the toys are bigger class. I know you've got a big class to talk about. I don't mind it so much when it's like, make it fun. If you're going to do it, just do it and do it fun. Like I bought that. We talked about it last week. I bought the oversized version, oversized KO of the Legacy Transmetal 2 Megatron. Now, he scales with nobody. Like, he's one of my favourite things in my room right now because he just is huge and fun and imposing. So I don't have a major issue with things being oversized or not really in scale, as long as it's fun. And this did it better than, in my opinion, Night Scream or
I think with me on this, it's more the fact that I sort of objected to buying the same figure twice in 2 different scales. I didn't care about scaling at this point because it's all relative anyway. But yeah, it was just. But it is a really cool figure. It's got lights and sounds. It was pretty awesome. I only actually got to play with one quite a way after it came out. But anyway, let's move on to my pick.
Yeah,
Supreme Cheetor. Now,
and that's it. Just leave it. Just leave. You've ruined it.
I'm going to very quickly talk about why I've picked this figure. Now, it is not by any means a toy that I like. It's horrendous. It's far too big. It's just ginormous. It is impossible to stand it up. Impossible. You can't pose it. It looks terrible in every single way. But it is the following things. 1, it is a lot of fun. It's got gimmicks up the wazoo. He's got a claw that flies out. He's got light up bits. He's got transparent plastic. He's got a sword that's his tail. He's got other things going on. But also, he looks just like the animated model. So much more than the other version does.
Give you that.
He's got the chest and the head are all down. He looks like he's from the animated series, which is at the time very few of the figures did. So that was pretty cool. But also, it's the sheer audacity and gall of them to make this figure. Is that the new one?
Yeah, and I have to say, there is a bit of me having the new one makes me kind of go, I want, just for the sake of taking a picture, I kind of want the old one just to have the juxtaposition of the 2 of them together. But I remember how horrific it was. This was the point where when I got the Transmetals, I remember friends being like, I can see why you're enjoying these. this was the point where people were like, what are you doing buying this? And it kind of did switch me off, but I
Yeah.
can see why you would pick it.
And he was also damned expensive, considering what price we were paying for other toys at the time. He was 2 to 3 times the price of a Mega Class. And, you know, if you already... Anyway, here's my pick. But again, it's not because it's a good figure. It's not because I like it. It's because it's just something that needs to have attention drawn to it. Yeah. Oh, that said, final thing. The cat mode isn't too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. But anyway, I'm going to leave this picture up. No, I'm not. There we go. Sharing off. That's it on those figures. So that was basically Beast Machines Series 2 of the show, yet Series 1 of the figures. I hope you found some parts of that interesting or insightful. Yes. Well, I have been Optimus Prime. And whether you've watched us or listened to us, do join us again next week, where we'll be venturing further into the 2000s with 2001, a Transformers Odyssey. Let's see what I did there. Anyway, thank you for watching. I've been Optimus Prime, and this has been Primetime Moff, who on my screen is frozen. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week.